Today we will learn about Bohr diagrams. Our essential question of the day is how can the behavior of atoms be predicted using atomic models? Before we begin, you need to know two vocabulary words. An electron is a virtually massless particle with a negative charge that orbits or goes around the nucleus of an atom. A model is a visual and simpler way to represent a complex, large, or small concept. Our first topic question is why are atomic models used? Well, atoms are so small that in order to study them, we need to create models. The current atomic model is known as the electron cloud model, which includes a very tiny nucleus surrounded by electrons that move close to the speed of light. This model is really difficult to study because we don't really see things that are that small or things that move that fast. We can't relate it to our everyday life. Instead, we look at the Bohr-Rutherford or Bohr diagram model of the atom. It's like taking a picture of an atom at a given moment in time. It's a way to represent the most likely location of the electrons in the cloud. Remember, the electron cloud is where you find electrons. It's outside of the nucleus. So, what are the parts of a Bohr diagram? It's important to remember that an atomic model is a very simplified version of an atom, and it's completely wrong in terms of the scale, but it can still tell us a lot about the way the atom will behave. This is a Bohr diagram. Notice how you have the nucleus in the center, which is made up of protons and neutrons. Then you have electrons, which are these little pieces here floating around. They're very big in the picture, even though they're tiny compared to the nucleus in real life. They're made big and bold so that they're easy to count. These circles are called electron shells or levels. The electrons orbit the nucleus in a specific energy level or shell. So, how does an electron's location correspond to its energy? Well, imagine climbing up a ladder. As you go up each rung, you gain more and more potential energy to fall back down to the earth. This is similar to the way electrons have more energy as they orbit further from the nucleus. So, the nucleus is like the earth, and the electrons are like you climbing up the ladder. The rungs of the ladder are the energy levels. These energy levels or shells are named K, L, M, and N, going from the closest to the furthest from the nucleus. Now pause the video and label the rungs of the ladder and the shells in the model above with the letters K, L, M, and N to represent the energy levels. To be honest, you don't really need to know the letters that correspond to each shell. As long as you know that there are different energy levels, you can label them level 1, 2, 3, and 4 instead. So, how do electrons fill the electron shells in atoms with atomic numbers 1 through 20? So, once the atoms get larger than calcium, which is number 20, things start to get more complicated. So we're not going to worry about those now, and we're just going to focus on 1 through 20. For the elements with atomic numbers 1 through 20, the electrons will fill the K shell or level 1 first. This shell is full when it has just 2 electrons. Any electrons that are left over will fill the L shell, which is level 2 next. The L shell is full when it has 8 electrons. Any remaining electrons will fill the M shell or level 3 next. For the first 20 elements, the M shell is full when it has 8 electrons. If there are still remaining electrons, they will fill the N shell or level 4. The N shell will also be full when it has 8 electrons. So, just remember, the first shell is full with 2 electrons, and each shell after that is full with 8. After element 20, calcium, the M and N shells can actually hold 18 and 32 electrons, but we don't need to worry about that until high school. Go ahead and fill in this chart with the information we just discussed. Now, let's learn how is a Bohr diagram drawn. First, you write the element symbol with the mass number at the top left corner. Then, you write the atomic number at the bottom left. This is called shorthand. Next, you calculate the number of neutrons in the atom. You'll write the number of protons, P+, and neutrons, N0, in the center as the nucleus. So let's think about it. How many electrons does the neutral atom have? Well, if we consider the fact that protons are positive and electrons are negative, in order to have a neutral atom, you'll have to have the same number of electrons as protons. Next, you'll draw the first shell. Fill the shell with the first 2 electrons. Make sure you make your electrons nice and big so you can see them. Continue drawing each shell and filling with electrons until you have accounted for all of the atom's electrons. Let's try drawing the Bohr diagram for fluorine. Well, fluorine is F, and then on the top left, you're going to have the atomic mass from the periodic table, which is 19. On the bottom left, you're going to have the atomic number, which is 9. If you subtract the mass number minus the atomic number, you will get the number of neutrons, which for fluorine is 10. Remember, the atomic number is the number of protons. So your nucleus is going to contain 9 protons, P+, and 10 neutrons, N0. Since there must be the same number of protons and electrons in a neutral atom, we're going to have 9 electrons as well. You always draw 1 electron per side first and then double them up, moving clockwise as you do so. So, since there's 9 electrons, we're going to put 2 in the first shell, and then we're going to put 3, 4, 5, and 6 all separated as far apart as possible in the second shell, before pairing up electrons with 7, 8, and 9. Notice how we still have 1 electron that is unpaired in the second level. Now let's try an example. Use the steps to draw a Bohr diagram for a sodium atom and an aluminum atom. Go ahead and pause and do this. So you should have gotten sodium is Na. The mass number, which is the atomic mass rounded to the nearest whole number, was 23, and the atomic number was 11. When you subtract these two, you get 12 neutrons. We have 11 protons and 11 electrons. These 11 electrons are broken into 3 levels. The first level has 2 electrons. The second level has 8 electrons, or 4 pairs, and the third level has 1 by itself. Aluminum is Al. It has a mass number of 27, and there are 13 protons due to the atomic number being 13. When you subtract, you get 14 neutrons, and of course there are 13 electrons. When you break these up into their individual shells, you get 2 electrons in the first shell, 4 pairs or 8 electrons in the second shell, and 3 electrons in the third shell. Notice how these 3 electrons are all unpaired. They're by themselves in different corners. Now, practice what you've learned by answering the Sum It Up questions.